In terms of what we're going to cover today, we are going to talk about what a business plan is and why you might need one, because there are lots of different reasons that you could potentially require a business plan. We'll talk about a few tips to follow before you actually start developing your own business plan. We'll look at the key components of a business plan, and some of them we'll go through in a little bit more detail, whereas others, will require sort of your own time and investigation, so to speak. And then towards the end, we'll pull it all together and have a look at a template and have a look at how a real life business plan may actually flow. So I'll give you some tips on where to find great templates as well if you don't have one already yourself. Okay, so first of all, what is a business plan? You may already know the answer to this, but a business plan essentially is a document that describes your product or service. It will also identify who your customers are, or your target customers, and it will explain why those customers actually need your product or service. And then it links how you'll actually make money from that opportunity. The reason that people write them will really depend on what you need it to do. There are a couple of key jobs that I think a business plan can have. First of all, it can explain your business idea. So you might have a great idea as you start formulating a business plan and putting it on paper. You'll find that there'll be more questions that you'll need to answer, and it can really expand and flesh out your idea. But you also might need it to convince lenders or investors to put money behind a great business idea that you have. So do keep that in mind. Now, you shouldn't have to write an extensive, like a book style business plan in the first instance. You can write a business plan that's short and to the point, and then it becomes a lot more easy to update. That might be all that you ever need. But if you are going for funding, the business plan is going to have to be very comprehensive and probably a lot longer than it would be as if you were just sort of fleshing out a business idea. So today, when we get to that stage of looking at templates, we are going to look at a comparison of two, a more of a lean sort of template and then a more comprehensive template. But then, so that's one component of business plans, but business plans also help to then run your business. So if you've got a good and a comprehensive business plan, it will guide you through each stage of starting up and then managing your business. You can use your business plan as a bit of a roadmap of how to structure, how to run, and how to grow your new business, and then set yourself some goals as to key and milestones as to achievements and the direction that you want your business to go. So I think it's a really good way to think through key elements of your business and kind of create a bit of a roadmap for your business. Obviously, that help that it will give you for bringing on funding is crucially important, or potentially bringing on new business partners as well. If you've got any kind of business partner that you're approaching or an investor, they want to feel confident that they're going to be entering something that's worthwhile, or that they'll get a good return on their investment. And your business plan becomes the tool that you'll use to convince people that working with you or investing in your company is a smart choice. To put that in perspective, in one business that I own, I created a pretty comprehensive business plan, and that was to secure $2 million in funding for a major piece of equipment. So it was this document alone that the banks, because it was a new business, so there was no statistics or no proven sort of sales. So they used this business plan alone to determine whether or not they were going to offer funding for that piece of equipment. So it becomes absolutely crucial in situations like that. Now, before you start, first of all, if your business is a startup, you might want to consider a few key questions to help you to determine if you're ready to start your business or start writing your business plan. But if you're an existing business, you might have already determined some of these things, but you've never had a business plan. So you've had one and it's outdated and you need to rewrite it. So the points that I would consider are, first of all, have you thoroughly refined your business idea so that you have a good understanding of how your business will operate? Have you researched your business concept to determine if there is actually a need for it in the marketplace? Have you completed some kind of feasibility study to determine what the expected level of demand or success will be for the business idea? Also looking at whether or not you have the money that's required to start and grow the business. So whether or not you're seeking funding or not, you may still have, and there's a huge chance that you'll need to input some of your own funding in the first instance. And then the last question I would ask is, are you prepared to invest significant time into the business plan alone, but then also into the business to get it up and running? Now, we've had a really interesting question about a pitch deck. Is a pitch deck sufficient to raise investor awareness? I absolutely think a pitch deck is sufficient to raise investor awareness, but I would say that it would stop at awareness, and it would, potentially perk their interest. And that's something short, sharp, exciting to go, all right, I need to know more. And then that would tie into a very comprehensive business plan. I certainly wouldn't be giving anyone a business plan, investor, business partner, whoever that might be, without some kind of non-disclosure statement, because this will have everything about your business in it. So, it is a very, very important and private document. So a pitch deck comes into play there just to get that initial sort of interest. And then the business plan becomes what really gets looked at under a sort of a microscope and gives all of the answers to any questions that an investor might have. But certainly consider that non-disclosure statement so that you know that your information is protected. Now, if you're ready to get started on your business plan, you will have to keep in mind that it does take a lot of time and dedication. It's not something that you're going to be able to complete just, sitting down and spending an afternoon writing a business plan or in, any short period of time. I would absolutely make sure that you've allocated sufficient time to do it, time where you're not going to be distracted or disturbed. It's going to include a number of things, and there really are no rules about what your plan should cover or the level of detail. So it will largely be tailored to your business and your specific situation. But I think a list of key components that I've popped on the screen there are sort of the bare minimum that your business plan should cover. Obviously, an executive summary. Now, that's really a short summary of the main points of your business plan, and that's always written last. So that's kind of that one pager that's at the beginning of your document, that if someone didn't want to read the entire document, which could end up being 30, 40, 50 pages, they could just read that and get a pretty good idea, like a bit of a snapshot of what might be included in the following sort of pages. Your business profile or a company overview that identifies your industry, what you're selling, how you're going to charge for it. Obviously, your vision, your mission, and your goals are really important to know where your overall company sort of ethos is and what your future sort of holds and where you hope the company to go. A market analysis is important that describes your target market, also looks at things like the competition, which is really, really important. A key thing, and as we're going through, it'll become evident that this is not something that you would just write, sit on a shelf, and it's relevant forever. Things like competition changes very regularly. So I will mention this as we go, but I always look at a business plan on at least an annual basis, and that includes reviewing all of this research information, like your competitor analysis, but also pretty much reviewing all components of your business plan. Your products or services will be featured in your business plan, and that'll be a bit of a description of the problem that the clients might have and then how you're solving it with your products or services. Your marketing plan or your sales plan, how you're going to find customers, how you're going to make sales, things like how many sales there might be, and those kind of forecasts. Risk assessments are absolutely crucial, and that's where you're going to flag potential hurdles, including, assumptions that you've made and what happens if they're proven wrong. Now, this will be a really important aspect for investors or funders, because they will want to know that you have considered worst case scenarios and sort of best case scenarios. So that becomes really important. Milestones and reporting. So what needs to happen by when in terms of milestones, and then when and how you're going to report against those milestones will be incorporated in there as well. You'll identify who your team is and the operational side of things. So who's going to be involved in the business. What funders are quite interested in is really people, their skills, how you're going to either attract them, retain them, because particularly in small business, quite often it's the people that sort of make the business. So the last thing a funder or an investor wants is to support a business that is reliant on specific people, but then find that with employment shortages, staff shortages, and that kind of thing, like we're experiencing at the moment, that you can't actually fulfill positions, and therefore the whole business plan sort of falls apart. The budgeting and finance side of things. In the budget, you're going to estimate your costs, you're going to estimate income. So that will kind of link into your marketing and sales planning. I would incorporate any debt that you plan to take on there. And then financially, you're going to show how you're going to fund the business. Now, someone has just asked, have we given any handouts or a business plan template? No, but I will be going through 2 different templates shortly, and I'll include a link in this chat as to where you can find those. So you can certainly download them straight away once I post that link. Now, in terms of business planning, some of those areas are really straightforward, whereas others can be a little bit more complex. So before we get to the template side of things and going through the templates, we are going to go into a bit more detail on defining your vision and mission statements, because that kind of tends to be an area that people struggle with a little bit. We'll talk about conducting market research and analysis and how you get this vital information, or this information that's absolutely crucial to making key decisions. We'll talk about your marketing plan and go through a bit of the development of your marketing plan, and then we'll talk about budgets and finance as well. So in terms of vision and mission statements, as I mentioned, this tends to be an area where people do struggle a little bit. Usually people write those statements for a business, but sometimes they can be written for a particular sort of organizational unit or a team within a business. In a small business sense, it's generally written for the business as a whole. Those statements can be created to define sort of the goals and long-term projects or initiatives, but like I said, in this case, and the examples that we're going to look at it from that whole business perspective. Now, a mission statement, and the difference between a vision and a mission statement. So first of all, a vision statement defines your organization's purpose, but then it focuses on the goals and aspirations of the organization. Now, those statements are designed to be uplifting, they're designed to be inspiring. They're also normally quite timeless. So even if your business changes its strategy, the vision most often sort of stays the same. A mission statement, on the other hand, this also defines your organization's purpose, but also, your primary objectives. A mission statement tends to be set in present tense, and it explains sort of why you exist as a business. Now, it explains it to your staff, but also to the people outside of your organization, like your customers. Mission statements and vision statements are both short, clear, they're powerful. A really interesting thing and working in and around small business often is, asking a small business, what's your mission statement? What's your vision statement? Most companies have them, but don't know them, which means, you look at a mission statement, it defines your organization's purpose and primary objectives, and it's written to speak to your staff as well as your customers. So it's so important that your staff and any management or owners absolutely know what those statements are and live by them as well. The statements should be concise, they should be focused, they should be inspiring. So you really need to do everything you can to make your statements succinct. You don't want long rambling statements, because essentially they're difficult for anyone to decipher, whether that's customers or staff, and then people just become confused. So you want people in particular within your organization to be clear on what your overall vision and mission is as a business. So now we're going to have a look at some examples. First of all, the mission statements. Now, keeping in mind that mission statements define your organization's purpose and your primary objectives. So I've got a few examples here, which are really straightforward and quite simple, which is why I've sort of chosen them. But first of all, sumo salad is to make Australia a healthier and happier place. So pretty straightforward, explains, the core of why it was founded, but also reveals the vision for a better future, essentially looking at the local Australian market and looking at well-being, not just pushing salads or pushing your product, essentially. Then you've got a global organisation, Google, to organise the world's information and make it universally accessible and useful. Now, that explains a company that has a huge scope of service. It explains it quite well. It talks about things like useful and accessible, which kind of conveys that value, but simplifies that complex range of services that they offer. So again, very straightforward. Jetstar, this one's quite interesting, and that's that Jetstar's mission is to offer low fares to enable more people to fly to more places more often. It works because it highlights their key selling point, which is low fares. It's not comfort, it's not the service and those kind of things that a full sort of airline has, as opposed to a low cost airline. So it does highlight the value to the customer, which is really more travel to more destinations. IKEA, again, pretty straightforward, a big organization, and that is simply to create a better everyday life for the many people. Now, this is interesting because it talks about everyday life, and the focus is on making everyday life better for customers rather than just selling furniture or bits and pieces. So many people makes a huge company seem a lot more accessible to that broad range of customers. To get to this point of defining a mission statement, it really takes quite a bit of time, quite a bit of brainstorming, and then really comparing what is a vision versus what is a mission. So again, always remind yourself that a mission statement defines the organization's purpose and primary objectives. And then you've got the vision statement that also defines the purpose, that focuses on goals and aspirations, and they tend to be a bit fluffier or a bit more aspirational, forward focused, and less sort of defined. But I've got a few examples here. So first of all, Costco, again, a big organization. Their vision is a place where efficient buying and operating practices give members access to unmatched savings. So it's pretty straightforward. And again, it's focused on goals and aspirations, mostly for the customer. Disney, the vision is to make people happy. That's very, very simple, and certainly something that they live by. Netflix, the vision is helping content creators around the world to find global audiences. So this is really interesting. The focus here is on content creators and the linkage between content creators and their global audience. And then ASX Limited is the world's most respected financial marketplace. So again, you can kind of tell the difference between the two. These are shorter. They're a lot more aspirational, less sort of committed to certain sort of objectives, really. So it's just defining the overall purpose of the organization. So I would encourage you, when you're working on your vision and mission, to sort of go through and start to brainstorm and separate what is aspirational versus what is objectives of the organization. And strip it back to something that's simple, but then make sure with your mission statement that it is something that is communicated throughout your organization, something that your staff understand, they live by, and everybody's working towards the same objectives. Conducting market research is the next element that we're going to look at. This is really going to be the backbone of your business plan. Research is absolutely a key element. You have to know what the market is doing, and market research is really the mechanism for understanding that. You also have to know about your consumers, your customers. You have to know that what their behaviors are, what their trends are. You have to have a very clear understanding of the type of people or the type of businesses who will buy your product or service. You can start by looking internally, information that you know about your existing business or who your existing customers may have been, and also looking at external research. So what consumer behavior information is out there on your particular business. This is really one of the very first questions that any investor or funder is going to ask about your business. Who are your customers? Where are they going to come from? And prove that there is demand, that they actually want your product or service. So you have to have these answers. You have to know whether your customers are going to be consumers or if they're going to be businesses. If they're businesses, how are you going to target, and who are you going to target within those companies? So who is the decision maker? It could be the salesperson, it could be the CEO, it could be, a PA to the CEO. You need to determine whether you're going to have regular clients as well, or if it's going to be all one-off transactions. And I would make sure that you have actually spoken to some of your potential customers as well. So in terms of research, I would have a look at your industry and what sort of research documents and information there is from your industry. Now, if you're a member of any kind of industry organization, there's generally quite a bit of research available, and research documents available from them. There's also the Australian Bureau of Statistics, which has a lot of consumer, demographic and geographic sort of information. There's also other research databases like IBIS World, which are fantastic in terms of industry and sort of consumer specific research documents and information. So you're not going to get the answers from one particular piece of research. You're going to have to do lots of or analyze or assess lots of pieces of research. So I'd be looking at a combination of all of those things: industry reports, Bureau of Statistics, your own internal research based on past consumer trends and buying, anecdotal research about what you've observed or what you know within your industry, and then pull it all together, analyze it all, and make assumptions based on everything that you've gathered. That's sort of on the consumer research side of things. You also have to put together a competitor analysis to really understand what competitors are doing. And this might uncover some information on your customers as well, or who your customers might be. Every business does have competition, so be thorough, list all of your existing and potential customers, look at who are competitors, look at who are your direct competitors, which are those people that are sort of selling the exact same products as you. Look at your indirect competitors, who are those people that have a market that sort of overlaps yours. So if you've got a customer and they're not going to buy a product from company A and yourself, then they become a competitor. So you kind of see this where, you know, it's kind of difficult to give an example other than destinations are a good example, where you might have two completely contrasting destinations, but a customer is not going to travel to both, so therefore they are sort of in competition with each other. And there's other examples in all kinds of industries as well, where you've got sort of an indirect competitor. The customer isn't going to buy both products, they're going to decide, or services for that matter. Also, when you're doing a competitor analysis, you will look at what will prevent other companies in competing with you. So what are the barriers to entry? A lot of the time in small business, you might have spent a lot of time developing a product or service or getting licenses and that kind of thing. So you're creating, or you're aware of certain barriers to entry. It's really important to communicate those to funders or investors, or within your business plan, even for yourself to note, because that will really answer a question as to why wouldn't someone else just start up the business just like you did, you know, the next week, and then that sort of it ruins your business essentially. So those barriers to entry become a real selling point when you're talking to investors or funders. Your unique selling proposition is absolutely crucial as well. So understanding what your point of difference is. So what it is, or what is it about you that makes you different from your competitors, that makes you truly stand out. You need to explain how your business will differentiate itself from everybody else. Now, it could be based on price, it could be service, it could be quality, it could be range of value, but whatever it is, you have to understand it, spell it out, and then obviously that gives you a few answers as to what to communicate as well. Once you've found what it is that makes you truly unique, and you've defined the customers that want that, that's who you're talking to and what you're talking about. So that's sort of that gives you some answers to your marketing as well. And then the last point I've got there is your SWOT. So your strengths and weaknesses, your opportunities and threats. So strengths and weaknesses are internal factors that can positively or negatively impact your business. And opportunities and threats are external factors that have the potential to positively or negatively impact your business. Once you've defined the SWOT, you should plan your business around your strengths. So keep in mind your strengths, but also note and try to mitigate any weaknesses, identifying some areas for improvement, for example. And that'll really help you construct a plan that makes the most of your abilities, but still realistic. That's a lot more likely to convince investors or funders that you're serious as well. Now, with that market research that you're doing, there is obviously that consumer research. From there, you should really be able to define your target market, which I believe is the most important component of marketing. You have to truly know who it is that you're targeting. You have to have that clear idea of the type of people or the businesses that will buy your product or service, as I mentioned. And, you know, determine a lot of key factors around them. There's no room for guessing. You have to identify specifically who they are by way of demographics like age, gender, social status, or demographics around the company, which could be the size of the company, the revenue of the company, or the services and products that they're offering. Their location, so geographically identifying them. It could be specific areas or towns or countries, really depends on your business. You might look at their employment in terms of their income levels or targeting specific professions. There could be also behavioural or psychographic aspects to your target market as well. So it could be about their behaviours, their interests, their habits. But the better you evaluate your target audience, the more comprehensive your business plan is going to be. So your target market is essentially a market segment that has been selected by your business for marketing attention. So keep that in mind. You might have an established business and you might have had people coming through the door. You do all this research and you define that there is a potential new market that you want to attract. So your target market might not be a market that you've got any statistics or experience with as yet, but you've identified an opportunity and they become a focus for your marketing attention. So through this research of who your target market is currently or who it could be, you might find that there's target segments that no one's reaching or no one's communicating to. There might be target segments that are being served already by your competitors, but perhaps your competitors aren't doing a great job. So there's an opportunity there. Or you might identify a target market and notice through your research that they're saturated with options and there's a lot of competition, a lot of companies trying to target them. So you might decide that they're too difficult to get to, there's too much competition, and go for a different sort of target audience. But to be viable, a target market should meet some key criteria. They should be homogenous, so they should all be alike in terms of your grouping, and they should differ from the general population and differ from your other market segments. And they have to be large enough to be financially viable to support their own marketing campaign. So you might have a market that you get, they come through your door, you know they're going to seek you out, buy your product or service, they've got the awareness of who you are, so they're not a target. You're not going to say to them, you know, we don't want to sell to you, but you're not going to actually actively advertise to them. So keep that in mind as well. So think about those dimensions. The most common is demographics because it tends to be the easiest, but psychographics, generations, geographic location, benefits and usage are all absolutely crucial. If you don't have a clear image of your target market, as a small business, you try to reach everyone, and what happens is you end up appealing to nobody because your message is diluted, it's not targeted, and it's not placed in the specific area where this market is consuming media. So you should be able to describe that person, visualize them even. Now, for this reason, it's quite common to create a digital persona or an avatar type scenario that outlines your target market. So if that's something that works for you, to give you that clear picture of who they are, that you can then communicate to your team who's involved in marketing communications within your business, that could be a good idea as well. So absolutely spend the time to very clearly define your target market or target markets. You may have a few. Then your marketing mix. So your marketing mix is essentially those controllable factors that really have been chosen by you to satisfy customer needs. Now, the 4 controllable factors that most business plans or marketing plans focus on are your product price, your place, and your promotion or your distribution. But depending on your business, there could be 7 Ps. Now, the other 3 are people, processes, and physical environment. So just to quickly run through those, your products, look at your product range and does it suit who you've identified as your target market, or do you need to make any changes to appeal more to your target market? Something that's really important to note is that you can never expect a customer to change their needs and wants to suit your products or your services. So you will always have to evolve, develop, and change and tailor your products and services to suit the target markets that you have chosen. So really have a look at that. Your products are absolutely crucial. Quite often, you know, if I'm working through a business plan, you might get to that point where you've done all your consumer research and you go, you know what? This product used to work really well, but now we have to adapt it because the market's changed or there's a new market that we need to develop a product specifically for. So that's quite common, which is why you look at it as part of your business planning. Pricing, look at how your pricing suits your target market. Now that you've defined this new target market, does your pricing work? You've also researched your competitors. So how does your pricing compare to competitors? How does each price in your product or service range look alongside each other? Is it confusing? If you've got product A, B, and C, and there's not a big price differentiation, people can't really tell which one they should go for. Should I go for A or C? I don't really know the difference. That kind of confusion can lead to people not actually buying products. So make sure that pricing as a whole makes sense. And also having a look at if your pricing allows for profit, because a big part of the financial aspect of your business planning is going to be profit. It's not just sales. You have to make sure that you know what products are most profitable or what the profit margin is across any products and services. And you've got your place or your distribution. So where do people look for your product or service? Is it online? Are you selling on a wholesale level? And think about how you can access the right distribution channels. If you do plan on wholesaling your products or services, you'll have to go back to pricing and incorporate it into your strategy. Because you're going to sell products and services at a wholesale level a lot cheaper than you would at a retail level. So have a look at that. So there might be a bit of back and forth between these elements. And then promotions. So what's your strategy around promoting your product or service? Where are you going to market it? How are you going to get to your market if you're attracting consumers directly? Based on everything that you know about your target market, where specifically do they consume media or advertising? So what type of methods are going to appeal to them? So you have to know your target audience very, very well to be able to determine how and where you're going to promote your product or service. So once you have all of that information, you can determine what your opportunities are. Keeping in mind that successful businesses do tend to think big. So you might be starting small, but you don't have to stay that way. So write down possible opportunities for your business as it grows. So make sure you've got that pathway. You might, start selling over the internet, but, you have to start thinking about whether or not how people are going to find you, whether or not you need advertising, salespeople. Are you going to eventually have a bricks and mortar store? So as the business grows, there might be scope for future development. So really consider what other opportunities you'll have as your business grows, and make sure that's part of your long-term planning as well. Okay, so now looking at your financial plan. As you business plan, as a comprehensive document, your business plan will contain financial information. It should contain a cash flow analysis, because without an actual cash flow, an idea of when cash is coming in, you won't know when it can go out. So in terms of advertising, that's a key thing. If you don't have startup funding, or if you haven't planned for advertising, you might not be able to even sell that very first product. So you really have to plan for that flow of cash, and that'll tell you when you need that injection of funds from a lender or an investor, or from yourself personally. You also have to have a good estimate of sales, and that has to be realistic. You have to define what the assumptions are around that as well. And you'll have to spell out as part of your business plan those assumptions. So you really have to discuss what the assumptions are, why you've come up with that, and that will link into your research as well, talking about your customers, talking about what the market's doing economically, what's going on. That will all sort of tie in. And that will lead into your estimates. You might have some historic information there and trends from your business if it's an existing business, but always consider a change in any conditions or in assumptions as well, because a good lender is going to ask you what happens if this market, for example, with COVID, we had border closures and that kind of thing. What happens if this market just cannot get to your product or service, which is a very uncommon scenario, but you really have to think around many scenarios when it comes to assumptions and forecasting. In your cash flow analysis, I would absolutely consider the overall cost of setting up your business. So your cost to buy or make products, cost of labor, manufacture, raw materials, employee costs, especially for a service business, any distribution or marketing costs. You have to do some marketing to get sales. And so you really have to factor that in. And then obviously you've got your fixed and any variable overheads as well. So with that cash flow, once you've mapped out your outflows or your cash going out, you can then start to estimate what sales you need to make at a bare minimum to cover, and then hopefully exceed your expenses and become profitable. Also keep in mind accounting software. A good accounting software will help you create these draft financial models. So keep that in mind as well if it's not something you've already considered. Okay, so now we're going to have a look at some templates. Now, there are a range of templates that are available to get you started. My favourite is really from the Australian government website, the business.gov.au. So I am just going to paste this link in to the chat now. So please feel free to go there. Obviously, this is a federal government resource. When you get to that page, there are two options and they're downloadable as Word documents. One is a lean business plan, which we're going to have a look at in a second, and the other one is a more comprehensive business plan. If you're new to business planning, I would absolutely look at the lean one first to get some thoughts down, but then always aim to expand on, to have a more comprehensive or a bigger sort of business plan. Particularly, like I said, if you're going for funding, you absolutely need to have that extensive document. Now, we are going to just have a look quickly first at the lean version. So that will come up very shortly if it hasn't already. Okay, so there we go. So this is the lean version that's available on that link that I sent you. So here you're basically going to, it's a fill-in format, which is very, very easy and as a Word document. So business name, insert your business summary or sales pitch. So just a couple of sentences. Think about your market opportunity. So what is that problem that potential customers face in the market, and what can your business do to solve that? The problem, your solution, your target market. So you're still going to, even though this is a lean, this is a 4-page sort of template, you're still going to have done all of that research that we spoke about. Here you'll describe your target customers, and obviously there could be more than one. So most companies wouldn't just have one target market. Again, you might have markets that sort of change depending on seasonality, depending on the products. You could have one target market that's suitable to one particular product and another that's suitable to a different product or service. Your channels, so how are you going to communicate to those customers? Your competitors, so you're really going to have to define those competitors. It's most common to sort of do so by way of like a spreadsheet, for example, and then you'll translate this information into this final document. Some forecast expenses. Again, you would have a cash flow. You can see here there is a link to other templates from the business.gov website. So your profit and loss is here, which I would really encourage you to use that. Oh, sorry, I just realized that link didn't go through, but someone else has posted it. So I have not sent it to everyone, but thank you for doing that. I don't know why I only sent it to other panelists, so my apologies. Your finances, like I said, you'll have profit and loss templates, and then you'll start to talk about key people in the organization, your next steps, so defining some goals, short-term, medium-term, and long-term. And that's kind of that really simple, or what they call a lean template. Now, I'll have a look at the more extensive template. All right, so this is the more extensive one. You can see that this particular document starts at about 19 pages. So by the time you've input all of your information by way of research, your basic business information, it's probably going to be around the 40-50 page mark, which is a good sort of healthy business plan. But the idea with any kind of business plan, it is not a document that sits on the shelf. You absolutely want it to be a usable document that's updated as regularly as things change within your business, but at a bare minimum annually. So we'll just run through this. It is very simple in terms of, it's a fill-in format. Again, there's a lot of tips and hints along the way. So if you want to find out about business registrations, about business structures, these links that are in this document are absolutely invaluable if you're starting a business and you're just not sure where to start. This business.gov.au website also has a really good license tool, so where you can input the type of business that you're in, and it will kind of ask a series of questions and tell you what licenses or insurances you may need to consider for your business as well. So really use the tools that the Australian government website has, because they are so helpful. Here you'll input a lot more comprehensive information on your business within this document. There might be things that aren't relevant to you, but this is a fully editable document. So if there is things that aren't relevant, you can remove them. But here you can see the contents that's within this document. You'll have obviously key details around your business. You'll have your plan summary, your why, your vision, your mission that we discussed. We'll talk about operations in here and key people. Then you'll start talking about the marketing side of things. So a lot of your research will be dropped in here around the problem, your solution, who your target market is, what kind of advertising and promotion you're going to do, who the competitors are or competition is, what your pricing strategy is, and your strengths, weaknesses, opportunities, and threats. It then goes into risk management by way of risks, insurances, succession planning is absolutely crucial, and laws. And then you've got goals and actions. Your finances are really important. And then you've got a bit of a checklist at the end. But as you go through, like I said, this will lead into a lot more templates. So a lot of this stuff is pretty straightforward. There's tips and hints as you go. But here, when you start to go into selling online or digital operations, you've got industry standard legislations. You can absolutely click through and find more information there. Also, the other thing I was going to show you here, when you go to, let me just sort of scroll down to your market. You've got the competition here. You've only got space for 3 competitors, and that's why I sort of recommended earlier to do any of your research in another document by way of, a more extensive competitor analysis. So don't think that it's typical that you would just have 3 competitors, but this will be your top 3. So I would do an analysis of a lot more, and this becomes your top 3. And here you'll obviously identify who the competitor is, their strengths, weaknesses, and what you'll do differently. But in your other document, you might have, their website, their pricing, all kinds of, more extensive information around them. Pricing strategy, your SWOT. A SWOT is a really good document to give to any people that are involved in your business. So whether it be, front of house people or front office people, whether it's owners, other employees, give it to them and get their perspective on what they think your business's strengths, weaknesses, opportunities, and threats are. Because I think it's really interesting to have that whole approach. The more feedback you can get and the more input you can get from other people, the better. It gives you just a lot more to work with, essentially. Things you become so close to your business or your business idea that you may have overlooked certain areas, or there might be things that other people are aware of, competitors other people are aware of that you're not. So absolutely get as many people involved as possible in some of this planning. Risk management, there's some good resources on types of risks that impact your business. Insurances, again, as I mentioned, there's those finders. So if you're not sure, if you're a startup, you might not have the insurance in place yet. So this is kind of a good trigger to go and get those quotes and find out, because that will then tie into your finances and your planning in that sort of section. The laws are covered there. Goals and actions are really important. Now you've got goals here for the next year, for the 3 years. You might have even longer. So feel free to sort of input certain areas. Now here, this is more descriptive in terms of the finances. But again, you're going to have cash flow forecast. You're going to have balance sheet, that you might be able to get from your accounting software, or you can use these templates, your profit and loss templates. All of these documents you will work on and have them sitting and saved elsewhere, and then you're just going to transfer the key information here. So that's really straightforward. Your cash flow is absolutely vital, and that's really important when you're seeking sort of funding as well. So keep that in mind. And then a bit of a supporting document checklist. So basically what this is saying is that you would have your inputs into this main document, which sits at 20 pages or 19 pages now, but once you add your info, it'll probably be a lot more extensive. But then you're also going to have a full balance sheet. You're going to have a full cash flow. You're going to have your detailed market research, which I would really insert here. But just keep that in mind, that there will be a lot of documents that sort of exist outside of this main plan. Now, as you can see, that is where you can get the latest business plan. But thank you, Clinton, for pasting that link that I put in a different area. So sorry you didn't get it originally, but certainly make use of those templates because they are hugely helpful. If you Google business plan template, there's tons that come up, but I think this is the most helpful resource because it has those links to all of the Australian government information. So, you know, it will be really helpful as you're going along. You know that it's up-to-date information. You know that there's a lot more supporting sort of resources there and available, which is why it's sort of my go-to. However, Small Business Development Corporation also do one, that's a Western Australian organisation, but otherwise business.gov.au would be my go-to. So in terms of business planning, I think your business plan is absolutely a roadmap for your business, but it's not set in stone. So review it at least once a year and make any necessary changes. But above all, keep getting feedback from people within your organisation. You might have advisors. They could be official or unofficial advisors, with help. If you haven't started a business, written a business plan before, with that kind of assistance, you will absolutely create the perfect business plan that not only takes your business where you want it to go, but will really help you to sort of seek that funding. I would also encourage you to host a planning or a strategy day with your key staff. Do that annually. It's a great opportunity to get people involved so that they understand your business, but also they have that opportunity to provide feedback that will help them to grow your business with you and further develop your business with you. So it's good for team morale to sort of get people involved as well, to a certain extent, depending on where you want to go for that. But do keep it simple. Complex and long documents don't tend to be read by either you or potential investors. You might think that template at 19 pages is already quite long, and it will get a lot longer, but just avoid any waffle or any unnecessary information. Keep it as concise as possible. If you do find yourself getting a little bit carried away, stop, take a break, and then go back. I do tend to think that this development of a business plan takes quite a bit of time, where you do a bit of research, go away from it, come back after you've had time to sort of process some of the information that you've obtained, analysed it, and then, a bit of back and forth like that. So don't put that pressure on yourself to try and get it done in a short period of time, because it will take a bit of time for you to process and sort of sit on some of the information that you've developed. All right. Now, that wraps up the session on creating a business plan. I hope that it's been helpful for you, and I really do hope that you make use of those fantastic templates that we've shared there. I will stay on for questions now, so if you've got any questions, please feel free to ask. But keep in mind that as part of this Commonwealth Government supported program, which is called Digital Solutions, we can help with your business planning as well. Now, for a subsidised fee, you get access to up to 3 one-on-one sessions with an advisor. Now, we've got a range of advisors that specialise in all aspects of business. So the Digital Solutions program is focused digitally, so a lot of social media, digital marketing, online security and that kind of thing, but we can also help with business planning. So keep that in mind. Now, there is a little bit of eligibility around that. You have to be, to access the program through Business Station, you have to be ABN registered in WA, Queensland or NT. You have to be operating for profit and employ fewer than 20 full-time staff. So if you're interested in getting a little bit more information from any of our advisors, the link is on the screen now, so certainly reach out. But good luck with your business planning. Thanks for joining today. And if you've got any questions, feel free to pop them in the chat now. Thanks for joining us. We've had a question come through already. When is it essential that you have a business plan ready? I would say that a business plan and the development of a business plan is crucial before you start a business. And if nothing else, I think it's a place to dump everything that you know and everything that you've thought about or planned out for your business into a document where you can refine your thoughts, you can refine your plans, and to make yourself feel more organized. So even if it's not something that you're preparing, you might have the funds to start up a business, you might already be in business, but it's something I would start chipping away at almost immediately. I would certainly look at that. Thank you for all of the thanks. It's my pleasure. Someone has asked if I'm available. I am available through the Digital Solutions program. So when you register, you just need to ask for me. My name is Kristy Bailey. So you can certainly ask for that one-on-one to be with any of our advisors. But if you go to our website, you'll see profiles on all of the advisors. So certainly I would highly encourage you to access that program through the Australian government, which is called Digital Solutions, but we operate it in WA, Queensland and NT. So to get that one-on-one session with myself as an advisor, you would just have to have that ABN registered in WA, Queensland or NT and employ fewer than 20 full-time staff. So that's it. Thanks again, guys. Good luck with your business planning and I wish you all the best. We've just had another question with regards to an advisor that's more experienced in health, in the health coaching industry. I am not too sure, Karen, off the top of my head, but I can certainly find out for you. If you can set, or you can send an email to support@businessstation.com.au with that specific question, and they will certainly link you up with somebody that has that experience. And thank you for the feedback on the program to say that you have found it fantastic. I think it's a wonderful Australian government initiative, and for such a subsidised fee, it's really accessible by businesses of any size. So thanks for joining the program so far, and certainly reach out. We have, there is someone that comes to mind, but I will let our head office answer that question because they would have, the full database of all of our advisors. And if that's it, I will end the recording now and end the webinar now, but don't forget you will get a copy of this recording within the next few days. So thanks again for joining me and have a great day.